Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And for those of you who like these type of videos, please remember to click like down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. But on to the point, it's time for current events in the online fitness community. And a number of people have linked me a video by Greg Doucette, who is everybody's favorite not doctor. Now he isn't a doctor, but he did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so he did get a little bit smarter. He learned some things. Greg is kind of flavor of the month still right now. He's one of the guys who's talking about his own gear use. Did his whole video discussing SARMS, his use of SARMS, how he compared it to Anavar, which I think is, again, anyone who's been around the stuff, a lot of people have mentioned, look, in a lot of ways we can make comparisons between SARM and Anavar. Of course, he reminded everyone, rightly, you shouldn't use any of this stuff outside of the care of your medical doctor. If it's illegal, you shouldn't use any of it. I agree with all that. I agree with those points. That's something that needs to be factored in with all of this. You know, these are oftentimes controlled substances. You shouldn't use them outside of the care of a physician, right? That's just, hopefully that's common sense for most of you. But one of the things that was interesting before he got into his own experiences with these, when he was talking about doses that he uses, he pointed out he knows people who contact him. Tons of people, including big names in the industry, said he's not going to give their names. Not going to give their names. And yes, this is how it works, as I've chatted with plenty of people in the past who discussed what they use with me, who some of you guys think are natural or who claim quasi-natural, everything else. That's the nature of the industry, guys. And pointed out that a lot of them are using more SARMs than he does while claiming natural. And some of them are people who you might know the names of. It's what he kind of said, implied. There are people out there who are well known, some of them, because they chat with him about it, and they claim natural while doing this stuff. He pointed out, they don't tell their girlfriends, they don't tell their friends, they don't tell their mother, but they tell him. And that kind of highlights the whole point when all this silly fake natty stuff comes up. And this is one of the reasons that at the end of the day, I try to tell people you have to stop looking at people's results. What their physique looks like is your determining factor if you're going to buy a product or not. Okay? You guys have to understand this, because it's genetics and use of stuff. And as he pointed out, just because you know the person or you have a friend who knows the person and they claim natural and they tell their friends they're natural, has nothing to do with if they're natural or not. That has been that way forever in the lifting world and in the sports world, right? I watched a college ball player who I knew his exact stack at one time, whose mother stood there and defended the fact and said in a conversation that he would never use anabolics, that she was offended that anyone would even imply that he would, when I knew his actual stack. And she believed that. She wasn't just making that up to defend him. She honestly thought he wasn't using anything. His own mother. And Greg is right. I know guys who lie to their wives, who lie to their girlfriends. So what makes you think they're not going to lie to their audience? Right? There's no financial incentive in this industry for people to really be natural. Okay? Especially people who are selling products based upon how they look. Right? If it's specifically, if people are selling products based upon how they look, is any part of the marketing. If you assume they are natural and they claim to be, you're kind of a sucker. Kind of a sucker. And as Greg pointed out right there, exactly the case. Tons of these guys he knows of claim natural. Well-known people, they claim natty, they tell him what they're taking, and they discuss it with him. That's how it works, and everyone discusses it with everyone else. I mean, realistically, any of you guys think Michael Hearn doesn't sit around with Smelly Bull and discuss what he takes? You think they don't talk about it? They're friends and they're all in the gear world. Of course they talk about it. They all know. They discuss it with each other when it's just the guys. That's the reality of this. Okay, that's reality. I think Greg highlights a good point. And that's one reason, I'm going to let guys like Greg do the whole calling out the fake natty thing, because he has experience with stuff. He looks, by that world, the physique world standard, looks phenomenal. No one can call him a jealous hater, right? No one can call him a jealous hater. When I try to discuss it with people, everyone's like, you're just hating, Jason, even when I'm just being factual and honest, because I really don't care about physiques. I think it's ridiculous to get obsessed over physique. really is. It's ludicrous to me. So it's not even that. It's just, for me, discussing it in the past of just what I know and observe and I've watched for decades. I've been around all this stuff for a really long time. And, you kind of figure this out eventually when you run in certain circles that everyone just claims natural. And yeah, they lie to their loved ones. Why wouldn't they lie to you guys? Furthermore, again, there's so much money to be made that people just lie to the public. People say, well, this person's just still up and coming. Why wouldn't they just be honest and get famous for the gear use? Because if you're not like Greg and you're not an IFBB pro, and you haven't bench pressed 500 pounds, or you're not Boston Lloyd who made his living off of the extreme end of it, what happens when you admit it? Everyone says, oh, well, this person uses all this stuff. Why don't they look like Ronnie Coleman? Why aren't they an IFBB pro? Right? In a certain way, it gains you a certain respect, but it ruins your career and it ruins your ability to sell products to people. The reality is tons of guys at your local gym use stuff. When I was in the UK, they did a survey, and that survey showed, an anonymous survey, that 1 in 3 guys with a gym membership had used or were currently using anabolics in the UK. Well, go to the average British gym and look at those guys. Okay, not everyone who uses is impressive, and Greg pointed that out too. He pointed that out. Tons of these guys don't look like they lift. A lot of guys out there he knows who are using a bit of stuff. They don't look like they lift. So I think your warning here is buyer beware. Buyer beware. And you've got to remember that. That's one reason I don't like the fitness industry in general. Right? I don't really like it. I'm in it. I'm here. I'm doing my thing. I'm oftentimes find myself at odds with it. But the truth is, the whole industry is built upon shadiness. It's built on shadiness. And that's the fascinating thing, You get a whole industry built upon that. And, people just eat it up. And they want to eat it up because they need their hopes. They need their dreams. Again, and that's part of just manipulation, and that's part of how you sell stuff to people. You sell people the pipe dream. And you know what? When other people come through and they shatter that pipe dream, what happens? Do you shatter that fantasy that people have that, hey, if I just work hard, I'll get where that guy is. It's just hard work. I just have to not be lazy. And everyone who's saying that guy's using stuff, they're just a lazy hater. They're just jealous. Right? Because that's what you want to believe. That's what they want to believe. And when someone comes in and says that, man, you're shattering that illusion. And that illusion is a powerful marketing tool. And if it was used for good, I would actually not even have a problem with that. And the truth is, if you can't get guys into the gym to work out for the purpose of just being strong and healthy and fit and manly and masculine and virile, right? Which we should be training for. If the only way to get them into the gym is to see some roided up dude who claims natural and who they admire his physique, bra, that's the only way to get them in the gym, then get them into the gym. Fine. In that case, if that's what you have to do to motivate them, even though they'll never obtain that goal, they'll never do it. Never. Impossible for them. They don't have the genetics and they don't want to use the stuff. Okay? But if you could convince them to train and improve their life with that lie, that would be okay, wouldn't it? That would be a case of an untruth still being okay because it helps people and doesn't hurt them. You could argue that the untruth isn't good, but it's at least a helpful truth. But unfortunately, that's not even how it's used. People use it to literally scam people. They use it to scam people. If you buy my meal plans and if you buy my 5-day bro split, you'll look like me. You can do this too. And if the first one doesn't work, I'll sell you 6 more, right? You just got to believe. You got to believe and achieve, brother. And then they give them really bad workouts because a lot of them don't know how to train without gear. And they don't know how to train, they don't know what to do. So they basically just steal people's money. They steal people's money doing it for profit. And at the end of the day, I would still say, well, if they were actually giving good programs, if they were giving them good programs that are actually going to work for the guys, then I still probably wouldn't be overly bothered by it because they're still giving them a useful product. It's just been a glossy false advertising package. But, is it money that people were willing to spend for a good product that still delivers? Okay, fine, that's fair enough. Some shady advertising that still delivers a good product that people haven't wasted their money on, it would be fine also, wouldn't it? That would be fine. It's the hustle in to where they sell them stuff that doesn't work. Like most supplements don't work, right? Hopefully you guys realize that by now. The majority of supplements They don't really work. Most of these programs are pretty bad. They're not going to give you ideal gains because most of these guys really don't know much about training. A lot of them don't. It's genetically gifted and go on a bunch of gear. Okay, it can work wonders. Right? Now, if they actually do train right and they're genetically gifted and go on gear, I mean, that's a whole different ballgame. But it's not what a lot of them do. So I think it's fascinating that Greg was willing to point that out. What was also interesting was that he still felt at the end of the day, with all this stuff about SARMS, that given a choice, he would still go with Anavar, even though some of them might be stronger in their effect. He just felt like that's rather what he would personally go with. You know, and I get that. I can understand that. It makes sense, all things considered. But again, is it necessarily a strength issue, or is it just the way it balances certain effects that he wanted? And it's worth a listen for those who are curious about that. If you just want to hear his take on it, you can check it out. But I think the thing that was most interesting here out of it was not that information, because quite frankly, I don't think SARMs are that interesting. And I can tell you guys right now, they're in that research chemical category, but eventually they're going to fall into the exact same legal status that normal anabolics do, right? Because anabolics were essentially the first attempt at making a SARM anyways. That's more or less the same concept. They're going to fall into the same category, just like the whole pro-hormone thing did, and now all those pro-hormones back when we all remember from a decade ago, that plenty of the pros back then who were natty used, they all ended up in that same category. And now they're classified legally in the United States, at least in the same category. So, you know, it is what it is. You go start taking these things, though, and you don't have a continual legal source of them for the rest of your life. Might be a price to pay for that. That's why I'm not really a big fan. I can appreciate the current legal status, but ultimately it's not going to matter, because unless you're going to be willing to use them for life or be ready to get on some prescription stuff, it might not be a good idea to get too used to taking them. It's just my opinion. Just my opinion. Because again, laws change, and everyone who's been around this long enough knows. We already know what's going to happen. Congress is going to outlaw them completely. That's what's going to happen. And it will happen. Or they'll make everything legal. There's going to be no in between. It's just a matter of time. So Greg also had good advice on that, if that's something you have to consider, and I would agree on that point. Not something you just jump up and do lightly. Just my opinion. And that's my opinion. It's what it's worth. Take it or leave it. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.